Macca's Guides.
Hey guys, Macca here with a first impressions of the Blackout mode in the Call of Duty Black Ops 4 beta. This will be from the approach of a console gamer, and to give you guys a little bit of background into my Battle Royale history, I've played about 700 hours of PUBG on Xbox. I have also tried Fortnite on quite a few occasions, however, it just didn't do it for me. I was never a fan of the building or the gunplay itself, and much preferred kind of the more hardcore style of PUBG, without the auto-aim and without the building mechanics. PUBG 1.0 has launched on Xbox pretty recently, but it launched with a huge list of issues, including things like terrible frame rate drops for anyone on the Xbox One X, and the fact that basically none of the achievements work. For a very long time, I've played PUBG, but I've played PUBG in spite of all of its issues, and those issues have built up over time instead of being fixed over time. And if you're looking for a game that works, that is fast and fluid, that has a good frame rate and decent graphics, Blackout could be that answer for you. With that being said, Blackout is obviously a Battle Royale game through and through. If that's not your genre or you're not really certain about it, you might either love it or you might either hate it. For those maybe unfamiliar, living under a rock for the last year, basically in this instance, 80 people get dropped into a map. The last person alive wins. You only get one life and you start with no weapons. There are no loadouts. Everything you find and use during your game is found in the actual world. Now, we will get into my overall opinions as I kind of work through this video, work through the topics, and you guys can kind of form your own opinion before I share mine. But my biggest concern going into this was the time to kill, because Call of Duty has a notoriously low time to kill in its multiplayer mode. And the game always felt like a Twitch shooter instead of a game where you could outsmart and outplay your opponents. But in the Blackout mode, you get armor, there is a lot less auto-aim, and the battles happen a lot differently. And the time to kill in Blackout mode is pretty much perfect. If you have level 3 armor, it's going to take 8, 9, 10 bullets to kill someone, which is pretty reasonable, and you can find that a fight in Blackout mode could last a minute or two, whereas in traditional Call of Duty multiplayer, people are running around getting kills within milliseconds and going for games where they might get 35 kills but also die 30 times. So people are going to be playing a lot more safe, and the time to kill is actually really well managed. Also, the Blackout mode doesn't include score streaks, which I think is an obvious good decision. So you don't have to worry about hell missiles raining down or dogs or RC cars that are going to explode. Pretty much you just got to worry about your enemy shooting you. So with some of the basics kind of covered now, I wanted to talk about individual points of things I like, things I am neutral about, and then things I dislike. And then we'll wrap it up in a nice, neat package at the end. Now, the things that are very positive with this beta: the graphics, the frame rate, the pace, the gunplay is satisfying, it works beautifully, other than a couple of server issues, which are, you know, expected in a beta. I think the inventory is simple, and the weapon system is pretty simple without being overly simplified. You're not just picking up a weapon with all the attachments, unless you find some rare loot, which is actually pretty cool. You can find some pre-built sniper rifles and stuff. It's cool that they have a variety of vehicles, including helicopters and ATVs, and the game just feels polished. The traversal feels incredible, and things like the grappling gun are really cool inclusions for getting around the map at a reasonable pace. Now, a couple of things I'm so about. I think the zombies feel a little bit gimmicky, and I think the driving is decent, but the vehicle physics aren't the best. And I think that the looting can be a little bit clunky, especially when you kill an enemy and all you need from them is the ammo. You're going to have to open up their pack and scroll through their entire inventory just to reach the end to figure out what types of ammo you have. It'd be cool if you could bring up a larger screen and just select ammo, or if there was some kind of a quick button press to do that. I don't want to have to scroll through a person's magazines, grips, guns, scopes, perks, and everything else just to pick up a stack of ammo that I might need for my gun. Now, in terms of the things that I am not a fan of. Now, obviously, this game is supposed to be more accessible than something like PUBG, and I don't expect the game to, like, add, you know, gas mechanics for the car or tire damage or anything like that. But there are a few things that I was kind of puzzled as to why they weren't included. Things like auto sprint don't exist. You can't use your inventory while running, so if you're playing in duos or squads and you're trying to drop inventory for each other, it's not as, you know, nice and fluid as you might like it. You can't turn your head while you're running a certain direction, so if you want to run forward but look to your right, you can't do that, which is fine, but it's really tough to run around on the ATV and kind of scan an area as you're going through it. A couple of other small things that I didn't really like was that I thought it was hard to determine your health at a glance. Instead of having a large bar of health, you have a number, and it can be very hard to tell if you're getting hit or not. And the perk system also seems kind of completely useless. I've been picking up perks and using them, and I'm sure they're situational, but for the most part, they kind of seem out of place in my opinion. Now, my next point is actually my biggest problem with the game. Even if it might seem super stupid, trust me, it has a huge impact on the gameplay. And that is the fact that, A, you have to hold the button to pick up a weapon or pick up an item, which I'm not a fan of because that means you can't run over things as you're picking them up, making the looting process longer and more clunky. But additionally, on top of that is the fact that your reload is non-interruptible. So if you pick up a weapon, you are forced to reload that weapon before you can continue looting. Whereas I would prefer a system where I could loot through an entire room, pick up all the stacks of ammo, and then reload as I exit the room instead of being forced to reload as soon as I pick up the gun. I know it sounds like a very minor thing, but I've actually had a lot of encounters where it made a really big difference. Now, you may be wondering what my actual impressions of the mode are if I take a step back and look at the big picture, and my impressions of the Blackout mode in Call of Duty Black Ops 4's beta are incredibly positive. I personally played this game for about 6 to 8 hours yesterday and had a ton of fun the entire time. It's a really good balance between casual and hardcore and has a really good middle ground between kind of both of those styles of Battle Royale games. And another thing it has going for it is that it feels like Call of Duty without feeling like Call of Duty, if you catch my drift. I don't really have to worry about bad teammates. I don't really have to worry about exploding RC cars or missiles raining from above or dogs biting at my ankles or people jumping out of windows as they try to no-scope me. The Blackout mode is going to be played at a much slower pace, and strategy is going to win the majority of fights instead of just raw running around and shooting whatever moves. Now, personally, I think the Blackout mode has a really bright future, and I'm really excited to see where it kind of goes. I think the biggest long-term hurdle they're going to have is the map, because it is somewhat small, so they'll either need to update it and change it up to keep it fresh, or they'll need to add new maps to the rotation. Nonetheless, this isn't only my own discussion. I'd like to hear what you guys think in the comments down below, especially if you've given the beta a try. I want to know if you enjoy Battle Royale games in general, what you think about this mode, and what you think about the Call of Duty direction in general. Let me know, and I will read and reply to a bunch of comments. Thank you guys so much for watching. Drop a like if you found the video entertaining, even if you disagreed with it, and hopefully I see you in the next one. A special thanks to the amazing people on Patreon for supporting the show.